We are recording this, as I said, on a Sunday, the day that some pretty big news broke
Yeah.
this morning with the time difference in Japan.
Hmm.
And it is the news that one young, middle-aged Chris Jericho,
Yeah. Yeah.
our good Canadian compadre, is going
Yeah.
to be locking horns with our other good Canadian compadre in a battle of Winterpeg.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to be a good one, eh? They're
It's
going
not
to
even
get
a
after
battle.
it. It's going to be Kenny Omega,
It's not even a battle of
against
Canada. It's a
Chris
battle of
Jericho.
Winnipeg, the peg.
Yeah,
So,
you know,
but it's funny that he kayfabed you when you saw him last weekend
completely.
in Ireland.
Didn't say a word.
He didn't even tell you. So he big leagued you there. But it's big news. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, when you think about it, I think when you heard the Twitter exchanges back and forth, you obviously knew they were setting something up. I, like everybody, assumed it'd probably have something to do with his cruise that's coming up, and because I know he's going to have wrestling matches and stuff on his cruise, so I assumed it would be for something like that. But this is cool. Like, I mean, it's something that doesn't happen ever. So it's a pretty big deal for something like this to happen, and I think it adds to that event. And I've wrestled on a Wrestle Kingdom show, so I know what it's all about. And I've said it before, it's the closest thing that I've ever been on to a WrestleMania. It had that same feel, and it's a great show. And I think it's gonna help that show out and make it even bigger.
Oh yeah, I wrestled on Wrestle Kingdom, Adam.
Really? What's that like, eh? Because I always wanted to wrestle on it, huh, Christian? Tell me, please.
I like how I called you Christian too.
Yeah, yeah. And then I called myself Christian.
Oh, well, of course you do.
Yeah.
As you do. I think on that show, what is it? Naito against is it Okada?
Yeah.
And is it Tanahashi versus Ibushi? And now Alpha versus Omega. That was well done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I said. I mean, it's.
I mean, with Chris. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but when you saw the tweets, us knowing Chris, as the wrestling industry knows Chris, you knew something was up. Like you said, maybe for his wrestle vessel. What is it?
I don't know.
He's got a cruise,
of
right?
Jericho or something.
There we go. We'll plug it. The Cruise of Jericho.
Yeah.
And
Most people say that if we did a cruise, it would be better than his.
98% of the people say that if we did a wrestle vessel, that it would, basically, you know what it would do? It would just blow all the water out of the ocean.
I would just get a houseboat.
I would get a.
And then you just call it a house show. Oh.
Anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a pretty big deal, and like it's going to create a buzz, and that's what it's all about, right? Like there's been this buzz around the whole industry for the last couple of years, because like we talked about in the past with all the streaming stuff, with YouTube, with all these ways to see other promotions, it is feasible to be outside the WWE walls and do well and to become a star. And New Japan has really raised its stock here in the last few years, especially with having their show on Access TV, and just the buzz with the Bullet Club and all these sorts of things. I think that it's a cool time to be a wrestling fan.
Well, you have Undertaker wearing a Bullet Club T-shirt now. I saw the Bucks tweeted that he was wearing a Bullet Club shirt.
I don't.
So
was that superimposed, that shirt?
I don't know. Who knows? But I mean, it was
gotta
pretty well done.
Yeah. Gotta think it was kind of like photoshopped or something, but
you never know. Taker's got his finger on the pulse, man. So I tell you what. With that card shaping up the way it is, and Mania's got to come stocked, because I know they're two separate things, and it's Japan and this, but if you're looking at the super cards, that one is looking really, really stout.
I mean,
and I'm sure that Chris is in very good standing with WWE, and he's earned the right to do the stuff that he's done, where he kind of comes and then he goes when he has the time. How crazy would it be for him to be on Wrestle Kingdom and then to be on WrestleMania within a couple months of each other?
Oh, he's going to try.
Yeah,
he's definitely going to go for that.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about being kind of a free agent.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's earned that. He worked his entire career to be able to have that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool now that is possible, because it used to be, the power brokers were WCW and it was WWE, and you were signed to kind of one or the other. Now that the climate and the landscape has changed so much, it's possible for there to be, a free agent and kind of a free agent signing, even if this is a one-off match.
Right.
For a wrestling purists, fan purists' dream, this is one of those matches that, people have talked about and wanted to see. And there's also, as we said, the added element of, two guys from Winnipeg who, Chris initially made his bones basically in Mexico and Japan, and now you have Omega, doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. It very much, not that Chris ever trained him or anything, but kind of that teacher-pupil kind of feel to it too.
Yeah, what does it say also to Kenny Omega's status that Chris would even entertain doing this? You know what I mean? Like, it shows you the impact that this guy has had. And we had a great podcast with him as well, when he talked about, he was in WWE, he was in the system, and he didn't feel like it was for him. He felt he needed to go off and find himself and do it that way, and it's worked for him. But what does it say about his place in the business right now? And we've talked about it before too. He's carrying New Japan. I'm going to say it. He's the guy carrying New Japan right now on his back. And
well, he's the one that I think is getting the international notoriety.
Right. Yeah. And you treat something like a big deal, and it becomes a big deal. And he's talked like that this is the place to be. He's the guy to beat. And I think that it just kind of solidifies the belief he's had in himself, the talent, and the kind of last couple of years he's had in-ring talent-wise, and the quality of matches he's had, that Chris would even entertain jumping over and doing this. Not to mention, I'm sure he's getting a pretty sweet payday for it.
Yeah, I'm sure he brokered something pretty good there.
Yeah.
Maybe get some New Japan talent on that Cruise of Jericho.
Yeah.
But it does say a lot, because Chris has often said that he wouldn't wrestle for anyone outside of WWE ever again. So for it to happen, it's got to be something that's intriguing to him, but also to get rid of just even the business aspect of it. But from a creative standpoint, I know Chris, and I know that he'll like that challenge of facing somebody new that he hasn't, that he can then start putting together the match and the ideas, and false finishes, and also that Japanese style. I guarantee you is intriguing to them, even though, like you said, he kayfabed me when I saw him last week.
Well, maybe it
but yet grilled
right?
me for he was like, so what's going on with the podcast, huh? So how's it going? How do you get all these guests? Hey, how'd you get Orton, man? Because he likes us.
Yeah. But now you made me lose my train of thought.
That's what I'm here for, Bird.
Oh, man. I was going to say something. It was good, too. Oh, man. I forgot what I was going to say. Creative
standpoint. The artistic flair of putting that match on a canvas and letting it dry.
Oh, I was going to say too, but Chris always loves going to Japan. Like, even when he was off of WWE TV or not working for them, if they were doing a little tour or a one-off or two-off shot in Japan and he had a couple days free, just a couple days, he would call and request to be on those shows.
Well, yeah, and he always request people that he'd never worked, like Neville, like Balor. Owens at that point, I think. Yeah. Maybe Nakamura, guys that he'd never worked.
Right.
So,
and I think also,
that
too,
audience,
if I'm not mistaken, his last run in New Japan wasn't exactly, in his mind, the best that it could have been, right? When he
wasn't that Super Liger or something?
Yeah, and I think he had issues with the mask and the whole thing, and I just think that he was And I could be wrong here, but I think that it's also a way for him to kind of finish off there on a high note rather than thinking back of that spot or that time in his career, obviously with the biggest company in Japan, where he obviously wanted to work and have a good run there, and maybe it wasn't exactly what he wanted. Now he can go back and do this, and then it'll be kind of, he can put that to bed too, you know?
Well, yeah, it would be like leaving WWE and his last match was against Mr. Hughes on Sunday Night Heat. He's going to want to go back and...
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
But,
yeah, so that'll be exciting. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see that. I was excited to hear that news.
And who knows?
I think,
and we threw this out there on the Omega pod also, that we were lobbying to be in his corner for Wrestle Kingdom, right? So maybe he'll call in that favor, and we'll end up being in Omega's corner. Maybe we're elite enough to be in the elite.
maybe we throw a wrench in Y2J's plans, man. Yeah, hey, but you know what else I also predicted? I predicted that the deck would get shuffled and that Omega would be the first Gaijin to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Even though everyone took that and misquoted me. But that's what I quoted. That's not going to happen, but I tell you what, I think this is better, bigger, and much more buzz around and behind it.
Yeah.
And
And
he
it also
deserves
gives
it. I'm happy
it also
for him.
gives some credibility to that US title. The New Japan US title. Gives some credibility to that. So
Yeah. Yeah, Bird, it sure does.
God, I'm pretty fucking smart.
How was your week?
It was good. Yeah, we had a good week. I went to see the Lightning game last night with a couple buddies. It was good
you
to
got
see
buddies,
a
huh?
live hockey game. It was fun, and then went straight from there and watched the UFC card. So
Ah,